Have you ever snuck a cookie from the jar hoping no one would notice if just one was missing, then maybe another and another? Well, that's kind of what the salami tactic is all about. It's a sneaky strategy where you do something big and ambitious by breaking it down into smaller, less noticeable actions. Each move is so tiny that no one bats an eye until, whoops, the whole cookie jar is empty. Or in geopolitical terms, a country has achieved a major goal right under everyone's noses. So stick around as we slice into how this tactic plays out on the world stage, and you'll see just how a little bit at a time can lead to a whole lot of change. First on the menu is China and its actions in the South China Sea. This vital waterway sees a third of the world's shipping traffic and is rich in natural resources. Over the past several decades, China has been steadily asserting its control over this region, but not through any single overt action that would trigger a unified international pushback. Instead, they've used a salami tactic approach. It started with China building on reefs and atolls, turning them into artificial islands. The world watched, but didn't intervene much. After all, it was just some construction, right? But then, bit by bit, these islands were transformed into full-fledged military bases, complete with airstrips, radar installations, and missile systems. By the time the international community fully grasped the situation, China had already significantly changed the facts on the ground, or rather, on the water. The cookie jar was half empty, and China had greatly strengthened its position in one of the world's most strategic waterways. Next up, we have Iran and its quest for influence in the Middle East. Iran has been a master of using salami tactics to expand its regional clout without provoking a major confrontation. After the US invasion of Iraq in 2003, Iran saw an opportunity. It started supporting Shiite militias and political factions in Iraq, slowly integrating itself into the country's political and social fabric. In Syria, Iran initially provided arms and advisors to support its ally, President Assad. This support gradually escalated into direct military intervention, but always at a level just below what might provoke an all-out international response. The pattern repeats in Lebanon and Yemen, with Iran providing calibrated support to Hezbollah and the Houthi rebels respectively. Each action, taken individually, seems relatively minor, but put them all together, and you have a significant expansion of Iranian influence across the region. The cookie jar is getting emptier, and Iran's strategic position is getting stronger. However, a question arises. Did Iran take a bigger slice than usual with the attack on Israel on April 13, 2024? Or was it just another small nibble that won't upset the regional balance? As observers, we can only wait and see how this latest move plays out in the larger strategy of salami tactics. Will it be the slice that finally makes the international community take more decisive action? Or will it be just another small step in Iran's gradual expansion of influence? Time will tell. Finally, let's look at perhaps the most brazen use of salami tactics in recent times: Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014. Following political upheaval in Ukraine, Russia saw an opportunity to seize control of this strategically important peninsula, but it didn't do so through a full-scale invasion. Instead, it used a series of incremental steps. First, unmarked Russian troops, the so-called Little Green Men, appeared and started taking control of key infrastructure. Russia denied they were theirs, maintaining a veneer of plausible deniability. At the same time, Russia stoked pro-Russian sentiment in Crimea, painting itself as a protector of ethnic Russians. Then, it held a hastily organized and widely criticized referendum, which unsurprisingly showed overwhelming support for joining Russia. Before the international community could mount a coherent response, the annexation was a fait accompli. The cookie jar was empty, and Crimea was now part of Russia. These examples show how countries can use salami tactics to achieve significant geopolitical goals without provoking a major response. By breaking down a larger strategy into smaller, less noticeable steps, they can change the reality on the ground before anyone realizes the full extent of what's happening. So the next time you hear about a country's seemingly small actions in a far-off part of the world, remember the cookie jar. They might just be employing salami tactics, and those small bites can add up to a significant geopolitical meal.